Hi, I'm Pam and I'm here to talk about video games. Today I'm starting a series of my top 100 games of all time. If you've been watching this channel for a while, some of these won't be a surprise to you, but I wanted to share some more of my favorites, tell you what makes me love them, and hopefully bring some more awareness and attention to some of the lesser known ones. Let's get right to it and start with number 100. I had some misgivings about putting this game on my list just because it's very, very new. So new that I've barely had time to process it. However, there is something to be said for symmetry in lists. Tormund Tides of Numenera is the spiritual successor to Planescape Torment. After a very successful Kickstarter, it was released in March 2017. You take on the role of the Last Castoff, the most recent vessel for the changing god, whose consciousness moves from body to body in an attempt to outrun mortality. Like its predecessor, this is an RPG that's all about the writing and story as opposed to combat. The world building is amazing. Every person you talk to has a story to share with you, and it's always a really interesting and unique one. Usually story-based games have one or two quests that really stand out, but in Tides, there's so much that's utterly fascinating. There's a scientist near the start of the game who explains how his people procreate, with parents literally giving up a limb to have a child, the severity of that limb dictating the child's later station in life. There's a quest to find out which member of a mercenary gang isn't real and is just a psychic projection. There are objects to find called mirrors, which function like a choose-your-own-adventure, where you travel through the memories of another character, making decisions as you go. There are different ways to address situations in the game, and you can talk your way out of most things, which is a feature I always love to see in RPGs. Tormund Tides of Numenera gave me a rich, interesting world to discover, which gives it a spot on this list. Next up, a game where you play a frog. No, not that one. It's Zuma. Zuma is a ball-launching Match 3 game that was first released in 2003. It's similar to a lot of other games out there, but the amount of time I've put into it, and enjoyment I've gotten out of it, secures it a place on my list of favorites. I first played this on Xbox Live Arcade. It's the perfect game to zone out to. Whenever I feel like playing something a little mindless, yet still quite challenging past a certain point, I boot up Zuma. It's got fun music, which gets more dramatic the closer you are to losing, satisfying sound effects, and both adventure and gauntlet modes. Plus the protagonist is a cute little frog. I've played this game on and off for many years, and I'm still trying to get to the point where I can say I've finished it. 98 is part of a very popular series of adventure games that I never really got into. However, the 7th installment in the series managed to draw me in. King's Quest VII: The Princeless Bride is a point-and-click adventure by Sierra, released in 1994. I remember the first time I saw it at my local computer store. The box art was gorgeous, and at that time I was really into adventure games. I convinced my mom to buy it for me, along with the strategy guide, which I think is the first one I ever owned. This is the first King's Quest game to feature two protagonists, and both of them are ladies. You alternate between playing Queen Valenice, who finds herself in the strange and wonderful world of Eldritch, and her daughter Rosella, who has landed in the Troll Kingdom and unwillingly become betrothed to the Troll King. Each character has their own set of problems to solve as they try to make their way back to each other. The game is memorable for a number of reasons. First of all, it's gorgeous. Valenice goes through a beautiful but dangerous desert, an enchanted forest, and a surreal town filled with memorable characters like the bull who runs the china shop. Rosella visits a zone that can really only be compared to Halloween Town, which includes even more memorable characters and interesting puzzles. As an only child who was always very close to my mom, it was really cool to see a game about a mother and daughter. That's not something we see a lot of in games, even now. 97 is another adventure game, but this one is much newer. It's also dark. Very, very dark. Stasis is a sci-fi adventure game developed by the Brotherhood and released in 2015. You play a man who wakes up on an abandoned spaceship. You don't know what's happened or where anyone, including your wife and daughter, have gone. So you set out to find them. It doesn't take long to discover that something is wrong. Very, very wrong. When I first heard about Stasis, it seemed too good to be true. It was like someone took a whole bunch of things I love and smushed them all together into one package. It combines point-and-click adventure with the isometric perspective found in all the computer role-playing games I love. It's got psychological horror, a creepy spaceship setting, and invites comparison to Event Horizon, which just so happens to be my favorite horror movie. When I played it, it did not disappoint. Stasis provides a game experience that is tense, intriguing, and horrifying. Next is a compile shooter with a wicked soundtrack. It won't be the only compile shooter on this list. Musha is a vertical scrolling shoot-'em-up developed by Compile and released in 1990 for Sega Genesis. I love compile shooters, and this is a great one. Musha really shines in the level and boss fight design. Everything feels unique, and bosses often have a lot of moving parts. Visually, the game is very impressive. I'm particularly partial to a segment of the game that takes place during a lightning storm, where it lights up the sky, turning everything you're fighting into shadows against the brightness. Musha does an exceptional job of being very visually interesting with a lot of things going on, without obscuring hostile projectiles too much. Though the game can be quite challenging, when I took a hit, it never felt like it was unfair. I also have to mention the game's amazing soundtrack. It's probably some of the best 16-bit music out there, and if I was more into music than I am, Musha probably would have rated even higher on this list. Well, that's 5 of my top 100 games of all time. This is going to be a very long series. I hope you enjoyed it though, maybe found out about something new, and I hope you'll join me for my next 5 favorite games. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and feel free to check out some of my other videos linked here. I'll see you next time.